President Biden has proposed using some of the $2 trillion in his infrastructure plan to repair the harm done to many minority communities when highways were originally built through them. Special correspondent Fred DeSam-Lazaro has the story of one such example from Minnesota's capital, St. Paul. It's part of our Race Matters series.
For most drivers, this is just I-94, the freeway in and out of downtown St. Paul. But for 73-year-old Bill Finney, the city's former police chief, this is more hallowed ground.
We are now parked on the spot of where my house was.
The Finney home in this spot was taken away by the freeway 6 decades ago. His one of 700 families displaced from St. Paul's once thriving and tightly knit black neighborhood.
Kind of going down memory lane.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Those families are memorialized at a plaza commemorating the Rondo community's dismantling by I-94, shaded in yellow on the map.
And so that disrupted a whole lot of the people I see present in these pictures, you know. And in some cases, some of the folks even moved out of state.
The community was never quite the same.
Never, no.
It was one of thousands of communities where land was taken by eminent domain to build the interstate highway system, approved in 1956 and by far the largest infrastructure project in U.S. history. And Finney, who in retirement serves as a county undersheriff, says Rondo fit a pattern.
I ride motorcycles and I ride from coast to coast, north to south. I noticed that where the freeway is very, very straight, for as far as you can see, you know one of two things. They're either going through a rural area or they're going through a poor area. Then all of a sudden, the freeway makes rights and left turns and sometimes switchbacks and stuff like that. And you understand that they're going around people that have money or businesses. I don't think that's right. But people that didn't historically have a large voice had little to say.
The path of least political resistance.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
He and others say the displaced Rondo families were paid less than their homes were worth, and they struggled to find new housing in a city where many areas didn't allow blacks to settle. They were displaced not just from Rondo, but from the middle class, says civil rights attorney Artika Taina, a fifth-generation daughter of Rondo.
They lost that sense of building intergenerational wealth, of being able to pass down homes and businesses too. Sometimes we just talk about the homes, but at its peak, Rondo had over 300 businesses that were black-owned. We still feel a ripple effect today. Not only does Minnesota have one of the lowest rates of home ownership of African Americans in the nation, we also have some of the greatest disparities in poverty rates between blacks and whites.
Today we acknowledge the sins of our past. Today we ask for forgiveness from those who lived through those days when our community was at its worst, and for those who continue to rebuild the shattered pieces of Rondo.
In 2015, the city of St. Paul held a ceremony to apologize to the Rondo community.
The apology is a starting point and not a resting place. I can't cash an apology at the bank.
What many community leaders in Rondo say would really put this neighborhood back together again is an idea that would do so quite literally and in concrete. It's called Reconnect Rondo, a land bridge that would be constructed over a 5-block stretch of I-94.
It's simply creating an African American cultural enterprise district that's connected to a land bridge, a structure. And on top of that structure, you can put elements that improve quality of life.
Executive Director Keith Baker says the project envisions affordable housing, business incubators, gathering spaces, and cultural amenities aimed at the black community, all managed by a trust to ensure that benefits stay in the community.
We just want to use the same systems, processes, tools, and resources that benefit business to be used to benefit community.
Such as?
Well, let's just think about Target Field.
This is the baseball field for the Minnesota Twins.
Right. That sits over an infrastructure project, a highway. Very familiar, has been done, but leveraged in the interest of business. The same thing can happen, in my mind, in the interest of community.
Just as states and cities subsidize major league stadiums to stimulate economic development, he says, the Reconnect Rondo project will create jobs. The cost in state, private, philanthropic, and critically federal infrastructure dollars is projected to approach $500 million.
I'm an optimist by nature, but I'm a realist as well. Okay? I know that this is not an easy proposition.
Thank you so much.
Among prominent St. Paul residents making a very personal case to Minnesota lawmakers for transportation dollars is the city's first black mayor, Melvin Carter.
My family was among those who had their lives and their livelihoods uprooted in the name of progress.
Also promising pledges from the Biden administration to address inequality and racism. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg discussed how infrastructure projects could figure into that push. He spoke to the news website, The Grio.
There is racism physically built into some of our highways. And that's why the jobs plan has dollars specifically committed to reconnect some of the communities that were divided.
Nothing is ever guaranteed. But I think there is alignment that's taking place right now, and we must seize that.
Reconnect Rondo will not bring back what was lost 60 years ago, but Artika Tyner says it offers a chance to sew back a community like the one she was raised in and writes about in children's books, about elders children can look up to.
The highlight of living and growing up in Rondo were the small businesses, the inspiration, the role models, like looking at the McGee Law Office to inspire me to become an attorney myself. It's that old notion of you can't be what you cannot see. That young child, Joey, he's excited about the time that he spends with Grandpa Johnson.
For now, a $6 million request to conduct feasibility and environmental assessments of the Reconnect project is part of budget negotiations just a couple of miles from Rondo at the state capitol. They'll know in mid-June. For the PBS NewsHour, this is Fred DeSam-Lazaro in St. Paul.
And Fred's report is in partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.